Hello, welcome to another episode of our podcast. I am Annelisa, and in today's episode, we will talk about female emancipation in the Second World War. And for this, I invited some specialists in the business, and they will explain a little more about this subject. Welcome, Arthur Martins.
Thank you.
Daniel.
Thank you very much.
Tiago.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Good. Now that you have introduced yourself, we can start talking more about the topic. A week ago, we opened a question box on our Instagram profile, and many people asked questions about the night witches.
Yes, very well remembered, Laura. The guy sent a lot of questions about these night witches. Who are they?
The night witches were led by the daredevil aviator Marina Raskova and commanded by Major Yevdokia Berchamskaya. 115 women made up the 5088 Soviet Aviation Regiment during the Second World War. Night witches attacked and down in a very silent and subtle way. They approached the target gliding low and with the engine turned off. The Nazi camps, which produced a devastating psychological effect. There was almost no sound of the wind whistling as it brushed against the airframe. The Germans nicknamed them Nachten, the witches of the night, when compared to the noise of a flying broom. The aviators also gained notoriety for fighting enemy targets without help of radar in the middle of the dark. The adverse conditions of hunger, cold, poor clothing, and technologically inferior planes didn't prevent them from carrying out their precision bombing missions.
Oh, yes, I understood. Arthur, the guys also sent a lot of questions talking about which planes the night witches flew.
Well, the night witches used the outdated Soviet model Polikarpov Po-2. It was a biplane used mainly for practice and fumigation. It was a versatile and general purpose device, making it the most manufactured biplane in history. However, it was not the ideal plane to compete in combat. Typically, it had a 7.62 millimeters Chicas machine gun and a small bomb load, 6 small 50 kilograms bombs. Its maximum operating speed it was 152 kilometers per hour, and cruising speed was 110 kilometers per hour. The minimum speed of the German fighters were greater than the maximum speed of night witches biplane, making it difficult to shot them down.
Arthur, I see here in the live chat that people are asking questions about who was Marina Raskova.
Excellent question. Marina Raskova was born on March 28, 1912, in the city of Saratov. Marina was the first female aviator in the Russian army. Her good relations with Stalin led her to creation of 3 female air combat regiments. At his request, 586 Division, 587 Division, and the most famous of all, the 588 Division, Night Bombardment Regiments. The Night Witches. Raskova, a chemist major, started in the Soviet Air Force in 1933. She became the first female instructor at the Zhukovsky Air Academy. After achieving several feats as a pilot, and taking part in a battle of Stalingrad. She was named Hero of the Soviet Union and Stalin awarded her the rank of Major. His motto was, "We can do anything." Responsible for creating the regiment, Marina Raskova died in 1943 at just 30 years old when trying to make a forced landing on the bank of the Volga River. She received the first state of war funeral. Raskova was posthumously awarded the Order of the Patriotic War First Class.
Of the questions received on Instagram, many of them were about the night witches, but many were also about women's entry in the job market and women's help in creating atomic bombs. For this matter, I would like to call the historian and geographic, Daniel de Alcântara.
Interesting. The next question is, what were the women's roles while soldiers were at the war?
While the men were on the battlefields, the women either stayed at home or went to work playing the role of the men. Since the men who worked in the factories went to war, but they didn't just go to the factories. When men began to leave their families to protect their country, the female job market opened, allowing women to work as engineers, drivers, members of armed forces, manufacturing weapons, and flying warplanes, like the Witch of Night.
Well, the next question is, initially in the United States, did women volunteer to take part in the war or were they called out to do the necessity?
At the beginning of recruitment of women for war, they were encouraged to enlist just like men, but after some time, due to major conflicts and the lack of soldiers, women began to be recruited, but they were not always recruited. They came into direct conflicts. They were usually recruited to be nurses, but in the other case, they fought violently and drove tanks and ambulances.
What medicinal care did women develop during the war?
During the Second World War, several advances occurred, both technical, military, and medicinal. Medicine advanced a lot because during the war, there were many injured people, so medicine at the time had to be improved as it was not enough. And to improve new medicines were created, the two most important were sulfonidates and penicillin. But they didn't not just in addition. They also create a new way of transporting and storing blood for transfusion because was the war a lot of people shot and was necessary to have a lot of fresh blood so that people who were shot and lost a lot of blood didn't die.
Okay. This was so cool and thank you very much for your participation, Daniel.
It was a pleasure talking to you.
My pleasure. Well, now we are going to talk a little more about our country, Brazil. And for this matter, I will call the historian and professor Tiago Castro.
Hey guys, it's a pleasure to be here.
What was the work done by women at FEB?
In the FEB, Brazilian Expeditionary Force, women were called to help nurse wounded soldiers at the front.
Interesting. What were the main factors for FEB to take its one nurse when there were already nurses from other allies?
The main factors that led the FEB to take its own nurse were at the request of North American nurses, as they had already been at war for 3 years.
How was the process of integrating women into FEB?
The Brazilian nurses were selected after starting their volunteering on October 9, 1943, with a call published in the newspaper O Globo, when they entered in the Armed Reserve Nurses Emergency Course, CEERE, which included 3 modules: Theoretical part, physical preparation and military instruction.
Was there a lot of prejudice and discrimination on the part of men regarding the integration of women into FAB?
Yes, women suffered prejudice and discrimination from men, since the social model at the time revealed an essentially masculine world, where women were completely focused on the feminine sphere.
Only women who had a nursing degree could die in the FEB?
Yes, only women with prior nursing training could serve in the Brazilian army.
Were women who graduated in nurse required to serve the FEB?
No, serving the FEB was a voluntary choice for women.
Were there requirements for women to apply for FEB during World War II?
Yes, the requirements were that candidates must be born Brazilian, single or widowed, between 22 and 45 years old, and have some prior training in nursing.
Well, the questions are over, and so is the podcast. Unfortunately, we have come to the end. In today's podcast, we'll learn about the night witches, the entry of women into the job market, and their help in creating the atomic bombs, and last but not least, the entry of women into the FEB as nurse. I would like to thank Arthur Martins, Daniel de Alcântara, and Thiago Castro once again for their presence. I was great learning about this subject from you. Thank you.
We are grateful for the invitation. It was a pleasure to teach you about female emancipation in the Second World War. We are waiting for the next invitation.